becoming a dental entrepreneur, how to grow your practice, or if you're interested in starting another location, potentially starting another location. First, just are there any specialists in here? No specialists, all general dentists? Or office managers? And anybody practicing less than 5 years? Less than 5 years, less than 5 years, and everybody else more than 5 years. Okay. And those who have been practicing less than 5 years, do you own your own dental practice? No? And yes. Okay. Just a little bit about myself. I graduated from Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck, went on to UMDNJ, which is now Rutgers. I'm a fellow with the International Congress of Oral Implantology, an associate fellow with the American Academy of Implant Dentistry. I have private practices in Totowa, Sparta, and Hackensack, New Jersey. My personal information is down here, which will be at the end of the lecture as well. I'm more than happy to answer any questions now or at a later date if you should need any information. Some of this, or a lot of this lecture has to do with communication, and I like to start the lecture by showing you my family, and I think that that communicates volumes right there on what type of family we are. We're fun, friendly, we like to just have a good time and laugh and smile and love. That's my beautiful wife, Jennifer, 16 years. That's my daughter, Alexa, 13 years old, obviously going on 21. And my son, Tyler, who's 11, and he's also a character. I'm sure everybody gets the same exact thing. New patient walks in, right? The first things out of their mouth is, I hate the dentist. Hate the dentist, of course, but not you. We get it all the time, and this is a stressful part of our practice. It's basically how to get that patient to trust us, to walk out the office happy, smiling, maybe a thank you, maybe a hug, anything. Just a smile is enough because we've known that we've gained their trust and we've gotten hopefully a patient for life. That's really what this is all about. So I want to go into my story just so the reason why I asked who has been practicing for 5 years or less, I know a lot of colleagues and friends of mine that have practiced for 5 years or less, and they have an astronomical amount of debt. I don't know what any of your debt is, if anyone has any with equipment or student loans, but I'll pull up a colleague of mine who, him and his fiance moved out to Las Vegas. They went to NYU Dental School, and we all know that that's pretty pricey. And they both went there, and now she's doing an ortho residency out in Las Vegas. $700,000 between the two of them in debt. I don't even know how they're going to be able to do that between the two of them, but that's astronomical. So I feel for the people coming out, but I had a lot of debt as well, and I figured out a way to eliminate it all and open up other practices. So hopefully I can guide you in that process. And we have a short lecture today, but hopefully we get enough in there so you guys can understand how to do that. So when I got out of dental school, I had a part-time job working for a pizzeria. And I was waiting for my board scores to get back and anxiously waiting because I wasn't really making that much money with my part-time job at the pizzeria. I drove up to the pizzeria one day with 4 quarters in my console, my last 4 quarters. Drove up to the gas station and asked the guy for $1 worth of gas. That was a very, very humbling experience for me. And at that point right there, I said, you know, I hope that dentistry is a little bit more rewarding than you know, having only $1 in my console to pay for gas. I was wrong. It's a fight. It's really a fight. And anybody who says that it's the easiest thing in the world and you make tons and tons of money, I think they're probably bending the truth a little tiny bit. There is a small percentage of dentists out there that are making a gross amount of money, but the rest of us are making ends meet, we're making a living, we're doing okay, or we're doing well. So that point right there in my life, I said, you know, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna pay off my student debt, and however I have to do that, I'm gonna go and persevere. So my student loans at the time were about $140,000, which, again, comparatively speaking to my colleagues, that's nothing. It's peanuts. But to me, it was a lot of money back then. We weren't making as much money back then, and maybe we're making a little bit more, but comparatively speaking, that was a lot of money for me. Couple that with I met a beautiful woman, Jennifer, and I definitely wanted to make her my wife. So I was in the process of, I already put a ring on her finger, and I was trying to pay for, or we were trying to pay for a wedding, which at the time was about $55,000 out of our own pocket. Our parents weren't that wealthy, so we had to fund the wedding ourselves. If that wasn't enough, my wife wanted to buy a house immediately. So we had 1 year of renting an apartment and then a $40,000 down payment on a house. So I decided that wasn't enough debt. I wanted to start a practice too. And that practice, I think I bought at the time for $130,000. So I at that point right there, I said, okay, now that I have all the debt, let's try to figure out how I'm going to pay it off. And it wasn't easy. I took many courses in practice management, tried to figure it out, made every mistake I think possible. And I think those that have been practicing for quite some time probably made the same exact mistakes as me. Anybody make any mistakes in their practice financially? Yeah, I think we all have. So I want to point out a number that this number exists out in dental space. There's no hardcore facts on this number. However, it does exist if you Google it enough. 4%. Does anybody know what this number means in terms of dentists? No?
Failure rate?
Nope.
So that can retire and research?
That's exactly right. 4% of dentists can retire at the age of 65 and maintain their lifestyle. Personally, I think that is appalling, because the other end of the world, everybody else that works for, be it the government or any other profession, they're looking to retire at 62, and usually they retire and they're doing okay. They can still maintain somewhat of their own lifestyle. But for some reason, we can't retire at the age of 65. And with the debt that is going to incur on these kids coming out of school, I think that number is going to go down if we don't do something about it. So again, I'm here to try to give you some insight on how to get the most out of your practice, and possibly maybe even another practice. I say why is that number the way it is? Number one reason, I think, is debt. Poor collections. I think if I had to take a stab at it, maybe 60% of dentists, maybe a little bit more, have difficulty collecting money. I have a partner here with me, Dr. Weiss, and he came up with, I think, the best line ever. He said, patients drive to the office and they're like, wait a second, I can't go to the office yet because I have to drive my car to my house, drop off my wallet, my jewelry, and everything else, because when they come to the office, they're like, I don't have a checkbook, I don't have a credit card, I don't have my wallet, I don't have anything. We run into all the time, but that's an issue that exists and why we can't retire at an earlier age. Staffing issues, maybe we can't find the right staff, or we can't find the right team member to collect the money, or to just support what our motives are. Holes in the schedule, obviously we all know about that. And possibly purchasing a practice at the wrong time. I think this is a super important issue as well. Focusing on the non-important issues, like dental supplies. I'm obviously here at a Henry Schein Fall Festival, and I support Henry Schein. I've done 16 years, 17 years worth of constant battling with my profit and loss statement to try to figure out what's best. I think I've nailed it after that time, but I'm always critiquing myself how I can get better and looking at it, analyzing it. Once I bought cases and cases and cases of saliva ejectors. I tell you, I had over a year's worth of saliva ejectors, and I was so happy. I called a colleague on mine, I said, wow, I got the most phenomenal deal online, and you can't beat it. You got to order in bulk, but it's the best deal. I think I saved $20 or something, whatever it was, and I had so many saliva ejectors I could have had it for until now. I got the saliva ejectors, we put them in, bent them, and they bent right back up. So the wire in there was like stiff as can be. It didn't flex. Those little tiny tips on the top, they were falling off, be it in patients' mouths or on the floor. It was a total train wreck, an absolute disaster. And I quickly learned, not just that, because I tried it with other things, with bibs and disposables and composites and everything else, only to find out that it really doesn't work. I was stressing over issues that it's really 5% of your budget or 6%. Does anybody know the true stat on how much percentage your dental supplies are for your total income? Is it roughly 5 or 6%, something like that? I think that's a rough number. I mean, it's not exact, but if that's 5% of your budget and you're stressing over saving $20 or $30, we're focusing on the wrong issues. So if you have, I'm assuming most of you have a Henry Schein rep. If you have a Henry Schein rep, tell them, take care of me. Just, make sure that you give me a fair deal. And they will. You just got to talk to them, that's all. So I'm going to go over to wants and needs a little bit. It's a $100 bill here. I'm just going to say, who wants a $100 bill? Wow, and he didn't know what was going on there. But Dr. Weiss is $100 richer right now. He 100%. He had no idea. You didn't know that I was going to do that in the lecture, did you?
No.
Okay. Very good. Your wants. We got to get what we want in the dental practice. Dr. Weiss wanted the $100 bill. He wanted it, so he just came up in here and took it. If I didn't want him to have it, I would have taken it away and put it back in my pocket. So you really got to want what's going on. Listen, we're all here. We're taking time out of our schedule. So get some type of pearl out of here. Let's make it work for us. All right? If you want your practice to be successful or more successful, get it. Persistence. How about that little kid that's my kid? I'll take my kid, for example. When they were younger, they wanted something at the store, candy or a toy or something, and they tug on your leg for about an hour until you finally gave in. You said, here's the damn candy, here's the toy, and they got it because they were persistent. But that's how you have to be. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So try to be persistent. Stop waiting for something to happen. I appreciate everybody that raised their hand, but there was no way I was handing you the $100 bill. So you can't wait for the money to come to you. You can't wait for the patients to come to you. You got to go get them. Put yourself into action. All right, go ahead and do what you need to do to get what you need. Maybe this is an unfair statement, but we're in the New York, New Jersey area, and I don't really care. Procrastination and laziness breeds broke people. And maybe not broke meaning, that they're poverty-stricken, but just people that don't have it. Because they're like, I'll get to it tomorrow. Get off your ass and do it. Clean your room, clean your desk, clean your this, get your patient in on time. Don't say, don't worry, eventually I'll get to that patient in an hour, and then they walked out on you because they're upset. Stop procrastinating. Don't be lazy. I know we get complacent. We all do, including myself. I don't want to be a hypocrite. But when I get into that mindset, I probably pull up a YouTube video on something that's inspirational, like Tony Robbins. Dude is awesome. Awesome, right? Does anybody know who Tony Robbins is? Just pull up any video that he does. He will send you through the roof and be like, I'm ready to, whatever, wash my car and clean my, my office, get new patients, whatever it is. You're going to want a healthy practice also. All right, that's super important. A healthy practice. We want healthy patients. We want to tell them that you should be healthy. You should clean your teeth. You should come in for fillings and crowns and cleanings, etc. So we should want a healthy practice as well. So, dental school. I was just talking to a colleague out there, and I was talking to her about dental school, and if we were going to talk our children into going to dental school. Anybody here have children? At the age of potentially making the decision of gearing towards dental school, would you want them to be a dentist? Yeah. Yes. No. Yes. Mainly yeses and a like. I'm not sure. Maybe probably not. That's a real tough decision, because if we can afford to get them through dental school, it's a great profession. I love what I do, and hopefully you guys all love what you do. It's very rewarding. I like to see a fractured tooth in the front that I fixed and made absolutely stunning and beautiful, and have a happy patient. Very difficult getting through dental school. It was very trying 4 years of your life, but it's expensive, super expensive. And if we can't afford to put our children through that schooling, and they walk out with $300,000 worth of debt, what do we do to them? Did we put them into a good position or not? We're not sure yet. But to agree with you, I would like my child to be a dentist. They could do whatever they want, but I don't want them to end up in a position where I started, in a ton of debt, and every day, day in and day out, was a stress about how I'm going to be able to pay for that debt. So, do you have any questions? No? It doesn't matter if your equipment's a little older. I have offices that some of the equipment's newer, some of the equipment's older. But what does it look like? Is it aesthetic for the most part? Does it look good? Is your area clean? Are the patients saying that this is prehistoric and they don't want to refer somebody? And then the health of it. Again, I'm gonna point out Henry Schein every now and then, not because they asked me to, but just because I like working with Henry Schein. The health of your equipment is important, because if you have a suction pump or a compressor that's on its last leg, and you know it is, well, think about potentially setting a little money aside for that problem if it exists. Or if it's 20 or 30 years old, you might want to say, hey, let me be proactive and just go ahead and purchase something and get that out of the way so I don't have to worry about that. Because the worst thing in the world, and it's happened to me numerous times, and that's why I point this out, is that your suction pump just gives up on you, and then you're out the entire day. Isn't that true, Dr. West? Right? It's happened to us before. So, I think that's just important to point out. Patients obviously are an integral part of our office infrastructure. If we don't have any, we are baroque. Marketing, do you do marketing, internal, external, both? How do we do our marketing? Business agreements with a laboratory, saying, hey, here's my handshake, I'm going to pay you. When you give me a good product, I'm going to pay you. Business agreements with your leases and landlords, and you got to pay your rents on time. And are those agreements intact, where you're not going to be susceptible for any problems in the future, i.e., I only have a 5-year lease, but I have a 10-year note, and they kicked me out after 5 years. So you got to make sure that all your business agreements are in check. All of your insurance policies are in check. Profit and loss, we talked about that a little bit. I can talk about that a little bit more later on. Here we go again with Henry Schein. Office analysis. Does anybody know what an office analysis is?
Yes.
Yeah? that's a couple. Right here, this is a $200 investment. And I always say, try to walk away with something out of every dental CE course that you take. This right here is what I want you to walk away with, if anything else. An office analysis will cost you $200. I got one about a year and a half ago. It returned me somewhere around $60,000. And that's no joke. Just from that. I'm not saying that it's going to reap you $60,000, but to me, if I invested $200 and I got back $1,000, I'm happy. And I could pretty much guarantee you're going to get more than $1,000 from that office analysis. If you don't know about it, and if you haven't had one, talk to your rep and tell them, what do I have to do and what is it all about? They'll go into that. If it's something for you, do it. If it's not, I understand. I'm getting my office analyses done again on my offices because, again, let's always try to critique ourselves on how we can get better in our offices. That's a big part right there for $200. You gotta have a business plan. When those of you who do have a dental office, did you have a business plan? Like a typed out, written business plan? I didn't. But as I started opening up new offices, I started doing business plans, and that's a pretty big tool. We can't go into this a real lot. However, this is something that's going to help your business grow. Even at this point, if you want to write a new business plan for your business at this point right here, this will help you out. We'll talk about how we can get you guys on track with that later on. So we say we want a healthy practice versus what's an unhealthy practice. Organization or chaos? What's going on in your office? Yes?
Just had a quick question on the previous slide. I know, and I agree with you about the team being such a vital factor, the face of your practice. Just quick, what's your position on compensation? Do you give raises automatically? Is it based on individual performance, office performance, or is it sort of a vague situation?
So that's a great question. Basically what he asks is, when you employ someone, you hire them, what is the compensation on raises? How does that happen? Is it automatic? Is it not? I always have in a handbook, I have a policy handbook. And if anybody wants to see it, I can email it right over to them. Please keep it confidential. If I do email it to you, I have no problem emailing it. But it'll show you right in the email or in the policy that says raises are not automatic. They're not. Yes, it's based on performance, but even if you do the best job in the world, you may not get a raise. And that's not because I don't like that employee or they're not doing a great job. It's just because the office isn't performing like we thought it was. And it's also not saying that we did really good, but we're not going to tell the employees. If we're doing well and they're working hard, yeah, we're going to give them raises. Yeah, Don?
It's basically when you work hard enough that you make enough money for yourself, you're going to be rewarded by your own production.
That's
Your
right.
production is your basis of morale. So if you get everybody else that's helping you make your production, base whatever their increase is going to be on real numbers that you have. That's it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, do we try to give employees raises every year? Yeah, that's what they look forward to. Try to give them bonuses at the end of the year? Yeah, that's what they look forward to. If we can't, we can't. However, we try our best. So anyway, if anybody wants me to email them that policy, it has everything in there. Sick days, snow days, personal days, office use of computers and social media during work time and everything that you can think of. It's a legal document that the employee is now bound to. Stealing from the office, be it stamps or money, everything's in there. So it'll keep them in check for sure. They may not be happy signing it at first, but I'll tell you this, is that the only thing that they're going to look at, for the most part, is what days am I getting paid to be off? What holidays am I getting paid for? And then they want to know what their salary is going to be. That's usually all they're looking for.
Do you make it mandatory that each employee sign it?
We do. Yeah, each
So even
employee.
if they don't read it, they've signed it.
We obviously want them to read it and we want to have a little discussion with them. Do you understand everything? You can document that into their employee folder that we've reviewed the policy, they've accepted it, they've signed it, and keep a copy of the signed, and then they can have a copy as well. Any other questions on the office policy? No? Okay. So I'll go over this real quick because I put it out there earlier, so I'll just speak of it quickly. A healthy versus an unhealthy practice. If you go in, to me, the ideal may not be the same as you guys, but my ideal, I think of a dental office almost as a merry-go-round. Patient calls up, they schedule an appointment. They go from home to the dental office. They check themselves in with the office manager. They go from the waiting room to the operatory. They have treatment or care provided for them. They go from the operatory, they're escorted out to the front, and then they go back home. It's just a big merry-go-round that they're on. And I think when that is real smooth sailing, that's organization. Chaos is somewhere along the line, the front desk was eating in the back and there's nobody checking in people, or the hygienist or the dentist is running an hour and a half late and the patient's upset, etc. And it could just be magazines just all over your waiting room. You know, chaos it could be in any form, but you want to have some type of organization in your office. And then look around you. Is your office desk neat? I got to point out Dr. Weiss, he's type A. His desk, forget it. At any point, and when he leaves that office, there's not a thing on it. Same exact way every single time he leaves it. Doesn't matter if he's in a rush or not. It's always the same exact way. I love it. And that's why we make good partners, because I like being type A. It's important. When you have clutter, it just jogs your mind and you're clouded and you can't complete other tasks. You can't even think about them. There's too much clutter. Again, incomplete tasks, because of the clutter, you might not be able to do them. So build your type A mentality. How about team members? Healthy team, healthy attitude. You want, I hate to point this out, but I've had so many of them that I feel comfortable enough pointing it out. Does anybody in this room have an employee, let's say, or had an employee that's not the happiest person in the world? They're like miserable, they hate their job and it's the worst place in the world, or just their attitude is terrible. I've had so many of them. Right now, thankfully, all the offices, we have a bunch of really, really motivated, happy employees. It doesn't matter about their paycheck. Think about Disney. Disney pays their employees very, very low on the scale or scheme of things. But anybody gone to Disney? Disney's like the best. It's so awesome. If you haven't been there, I'd recommend that too. I'm going to just continue to spend your money. So Disney, just every single employee, even the guy sweeping up the horse crap on the side of the road, is happy. They're super happy. The bus drivers are happy. Everybody over there. And it's not because of their money. It's just because they built that aura, that attitude about, and they've hired the right people. Personality is the same thing as attitude and motivation. You got to keep your employees motivated. All right? How do we do that? It's tough. Does anybody? Well, I don't want to set you up for failure. Hopefully, everybody says no to this, because I don't want to set you up for failure. Welcome. How are you? Fantastic. Thank you. So, I had a colleague of mine say that his overhead was only 50%. I scratched my head, and this is a colleague that bends the truth a little tiny bit. I had to scratch my head, and I tried to figure out how that possibly could be. Is anybody even close to 50%? Like, I'm at 70% or something. Like, it might be 74%. I don't know. It's like 70-something%. It's crazy, my overhead. Could I bring it down a little under 70? Yeah, probably, but it's like, it's high. What's your, do you know what yours is? No? It's high, right? It's not 50. It's close to 50?
Best I can keep it is 65.
Okay. The only way I could figure this, I'm going to talk to you later on because I got to figure that out on how you do that. But the only way that I can figure out how his office was 50% overhead is this. That's the only way. And I don't want to set you up to poke fun because I can't figure it out. I've tried many different ways. I'm very, very anal about my profit and loss statement, and I love to look at it monthly, quarterly, and annually. And I always try to reevaluate on how to improve on that, but I always seem to be on the higher side of 60% or low side of 70. Anyway, that speaks for itself. I won't go into that a little bit. So let's talk about our team a little bit. Does anybody have any questions? Yes?
70% after you paid yourself or before you paid? Like with another associate and 70%?
The associates in there and every single bill known to man is in there. The 25% is usually left for me. So
Including the paychecks for staff?
everything. Yeah.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I know that like obviously the topic is being a dental entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Is the goal going in practice just to take out 10% as owner and then the other 25 as the main driver of production?
So that's a good question, and he's basically asking how you can compensate yourself. Obviously, that's driven towards how much money you need to live, but it's also driven towards what you want in the future. If you want to build up a practice and sell it for a decent amount, you got to show your profit and loss a certain way. If you want to build up your practice and continue to open up another one, and then another one, and then another one, you have to build up your profit and loss a certain way. If you can get your bills paid and you're living very well, that's what you want to do, obviously. If you're not, you have to find a way to obviously make more or take more. Now, with that 70%, I write a lot of stuff off through my office, so I don't want to sound skewed in that number. I write off anything that I possibly can that's legally possible, right? Anything. I try to write my car off, and I talk to my accountant. Can I write this off? How much? Try to write, like, obviously malpractice and all that, the insurances, anything and everything that I possibly can, I write through the office. So that may bring me up a little bit more, but even so, if I didn't, I might be at 65 or 67%. So your goal is going to try to be to obviously reap in as much benefit as you possibly can. And we could talk a little bit more if you email me, call me at a later date. I spoke about this briefly. Does everybody agree with that? Revolving doors could be a dangerous thing for the dental office. They see a new front desk every 6 months. They may say that it's not the position, but maybe it's the dentist that is tough to work for. We want to find the right person in every position, that now you're a team. I heard a lecturer, I don't know if you guys ever heard him before, say the word staff is an infection. So I try not to use the word staff. I try my best to use the word team because that's really what we are. We're trying to build a team here, not it's just my staff. It's like saying, it's just my job. No, it's our career, right? I like to hire slowly, a little bit more slowly, and fire quickly. And I don't mean, I don't like the way that they poured up an alginate and I'm going to fire them. I mean that when we hire, take your time. Bring them in for an interview, take them around the office for a tour, maybe a second interview, maybe have the rest of the team interact with that potential employee, and make sure that they're the right fit. Another thing that I think is a great idea, even if it's a dental assistant, because we do this with hygienists all the time, is a one-day working interview, or maybe a two-day working interview. That is a phenomenal idea. Dental assistants, yeah, we know that they can't get it all down in one day, but you can get their attitude, their personality, their mentality down in a day or two, no doubt about it.
Do you pay for working interviews?
Absolutely, yeah,
You do.
absolutely, yep. And you can make up that number. If your average for a hygienist is 40 and you want to tell them ahead of time that they're going to get paid 38 for the working interview, that's up to you. That number it's 1 day basically. But you can discuss that, what works best for you. All right, same thing with the dental assistant. You can say, you're only going to work 4 hours or 6 hours, and it's usually an 8-hour day, but we just want to get a feel for working with you. So you can kind of customize it as far as what you feel is best. Any other questions with that?
Has that been a positive influence in your offices? Did you ever have a great working interview, but then the person didn't?
Sure. We've hired a hygienist, and we thought it was the greatest thing in the world, or greatest person or employee in the world, and it took 6 to 12 months to find out that wasn't the right fit for us. Constant complaining about other employees and constant picking on other people, and we know that if this employee's been here for 12 years, I've never had a problem with that employee. She's always been happy. But then introduce another person, and it's chaos again. And we see that this is the person that's always pointing fingers and saying that these supplies aren't stocked, or this isn't done right, or this isn't done right. You may want to second guess it. So yes, I've had that problem, and you will as well. So it's a matter of finding the right team. But when you have that employee that's not right, you got to allow them to exit in the right fashion so that you don't have them anymore. And what I mean in the right fashion is legally. Talk to your lawyer about labor laws and make sure that you're in the right. This, I think, is one of the toughest things to do, is keep them motivated. Smiling, all my employees smile, but to keep them motivated is tough. Whatever it takes, there's plenty of ideas. Maybe every now and then you want to buy them lunch, or, how about just a thank you? How about just at the end of the day, thank you for being a part of this team. Thank you for your hard work. I do appreciate it. And, I would love to reward you and give you a raise every week. I can't. However, I just really want to thank you. That goes a long way. It really does. So when you get to your office, just if you've got employees that have been with you for quite some time, thank them. Say thanks for your hard work. They appreciate that. And then welcome feedback. I think this is huge. I always have an open door policy. And they come into my office and they say, hey, Doc, I think that we should think about potentially doing this in advertising, or doing this, or I heard about another dentist doing this, and maybe that's a good idea, like a free dental day, where we set up the entire day and we just do free dentistry for those in need. And I think that's a great idea. It's very rewarding for the dentist and the entire team, and it gets your name out there. Not that you're looking to say, hey, pat me on the back for what I'm doing, but it's just a different idea, and I got that from other people. That wasn't my idea. Yeah, Doc.
One of the more recent things we've done in our office was to optimize our frugal situation. Didn't cost us really anything, and I'd be happy to tell you that, so you can bring that up with detail, because that has really zeroed in on a lot of the community that's right around me. You can get them right in my door, and I don't have to spend a dime to do it.
So Don points out a really, really good thing that I'll bring up in a little bit. Hopefully, let me see how it. Okay, yeah, we get time. So the internet it's an awesome tool. It's an awesome tool. Me, I'm a little savvy with the internet, but not as savvy. I actually have one of my internet guys with me. He's filming right now, and he'll do a lot of work for me because I'm not that savvy, or I don't have that time. So if you hire the right people to do that, or if Dom had enough time or his team had enough time to do that, yeah, get out there. Get your name out there in a positive vibe, and I'll tell you later on about what I mean in a positive vibe, because that's important. But they always bring their feedback, and they're comfortable doing it. Now, sometimes I'll say to them, no, we're not doing that. That's going to cost us an arm and a leg, and it's just not going to work because I've tried it before, or maybe we'll try it, but now's not the right time. And they understand that every now and then they're going to get a no answer. But you definitely got to welcome some feedback from your employees. This is something that I live by. This is not something that was made up by anybody else but myself. Your ABCs, always be critiquing your practice. I critique my life as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a family member, as a business owner, as a partner, as everything. And if you do that, I think that you're going to start to realize that that something is going to get better if you critique it. So I'll go in and do an MO composite, which to me is it's a pain in the ass to get that contact perfect. But I've constantly critiqued myself on how I can make that contact perfect. Finally figured it out. Took a little while and a lot of replaced MO composites, but I critiqued myself. I said, how can I do better? How can I do better with crown and bridge? How can I do better with veneers, with implants, any surgery that I do? Everything. I'm always looking at it. And any colleague that comes to me and he says, hey, listen, I did an implant and it looks beautiful. I said, well, what's wrong with it? And he goes, nothing. I said, no, you got to find something. Just critique it. How could you have done better? Could you have laid a different flap? Could you have placed it in a different area? Could you have used a wider implant? What? Just say something to engage in that thought process of critiquing yourself. I think that's super important. You guys agree? I know I get thirsty, so if anybody wants to step out for a water or anything like that, be more than happy to. So we'll go on communication a little bit more right here. Has anybody ever had a contractor or construction worker on their house or their dental practice doing a job for them? Small or big, doesn't matter. This guy right here, it's amazing that you call them up and you're like, hey, listen, I need the first level of my house gutted, redone, whole new kitchen, dining room, living room, everything. How much is it going to be? Within 18 seconds, they have the estimate for you right there. They're like, okay, I could start next week and everything's great. You're like, oh, wow, this guy's on top of things and it's fantastic. So you end up hiring that guy because you went through a couple and you figured that was the right guy. He was on his stuff. So the first week, demo's done, everything's good, permits are in. The second week, slows down. He had to take one day off. The third week, he goes missing. I don't know where he is, but I call him. Now, before, he needed some money to start the job. He was picking up his phone all the time. Now, can't find him. Leave him voicemails, text, email, courier pigeon, everything. And I can't contact this guy. Has that ever happened? Because I don't want to be the only one that hires a contractor and they like go missing. They eventually complete the job, but it's frustrating that this is like important to you. And so it's important for that guy to communicate. If there was a contractor out there that actually started, finished in a timely fashion like they said they would, answered phone calls, I think they'd be multimillionaires. And I think everybody in this profession is just, they go missing every now and then. And I understand that they got different jobs, but just answer your phone calls. Let's take that to a lawyer. A lawyer, usually, when you're hiring a lawyer, it's not a good thing, unless you're buying or selling a piece of property, a practice, etc. Usually it's not a great thing because they charge an astronomical amount of money. And when they delay the job and keep it going and going and going, you're broke. So they are not the same way, but in essence, a little like the contractor in that they call you, they get you in for the consult, they get your retainer, and then they may push you off to an associate or whatever they do. But then you're starting to ask questions that can't be answered by anybody but that lawyer, and that lawyer is nowhere to be found. And that is really, really frustrating because that is important. That's the only thing important in your life at that particular time, and they're not there for you. That's super important. Take that to the next step. Take that to the medical professional. That's us, by the way. And that person gets a phone call, be it emergency, be it in the middle of the day and you can't pick it up at that point, there's somebody else on the other line. That's the most important thing to them at that particular point. Whether it's a toothache, a broken tooth, they're going to a wedding and they want to crazy glue a front tooth in, but they don't know what to do. They need you. So you need to communicate with your patients. I can promise you, because I've done it. I've been in on Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, 4th of July, I've been on every holiday. Not by default, basically, because I have a lot of patients and they need you at certain times. And usually it's a pretty easy fix. But at least at a minimum, call them up and say, hey, listen, I understand your problem, this is how we're gonna solve it. And that right there will gain you another patient, because they're gonna refer to you. It's super important to communicate, especially with your patients. All right? So this lecture is not just about profit and loss. It's about the inner workings of your office and how to really make it so that it can be better. And sometimes we lose sight of, even a patient comes in and they've been a patient for 15, 20, 25 years. We never said thank you for being a patient. Never. Not once. We just do the general open, close, see in a month, see in 6 months. Say thank you. Go to your patients and say, you know what, I appreciate you being a patient here. And sometimes it's awkward at first. But once you get in the hang of it and continue to do it, it's not awkward anymore. I like to say that if I got into a Lamborghini, the first time I drove it, it would be awkward for me. It would be uncomfortable, because I'm uncomfortable. But after the first month or second month I'm in it, it's just part of my everyday routine. It's my Lamborghini. I don't have a Lamborghini, by the way. But if you get in the habit of communicating with your patients, that will bring you patients, no doubt about it, guaranteed. And it's just not a thank you. It's, hey, how's Johnny doing? I put notes in my computer saying, you know, such and such just had a baby, or, you know, is getting married, etc. How was the honeymoon? I know you went to Turks and Caicos. Like, how'd you know I went? I know, I remember. You know, yeah, we got notes to help us a little bit, but they understand it. They think that they're the only people in that practice. So let them feel like that. Let them feel like they're the individual, the one person in that practice. And then they'll start referring to you, and that will expand your practice. So I said earlier, you know, make this work for you. You guys took time out of your office, from your family, etc. Make it work for you. Just get one little pearl or a couple little pearls from me. Take it back to your office and make some more income, or get some more patients as a result. And maximize your learnings. Yes?
How do you do that, like communication and that intimacy with the patient in your satellite offices, when it's not you to be there, and you have associates going there for a year, and another associate?
That might be the best question today. It's a great question. So basically what you need to do, because how does your
They're
assistant...
looking for me,
Yeah.
I'm not at that office.
Of course. But how does your assistant know what you like? You train them, or somebody trained them. And I know it's tough, because you can't just do it overnight, right? But you have to train that particular associate how to mirror image you, how to be more like you. And then you have to train your office manager how to get them into the comfort zone of seeing the associate. It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. But I've been working with Dr. Weiss for 17 years, something around there, 16 years. And I just bought into the practice recently. But that first 5 years was tough, or 3 years was tough. And he kind of showed me how he did things. So I mirror imaged him, and I said, this is how I'm going to practice in this location. Well, patients, they were comfortable with me at that point. And then another practice that I'm at, I got to kind of be a little bit of a chameleon, and I got to say, well, this is how they do things here. Some practices, they go gangbusters, and they're like trying to sell treatment plans through the roof. We don't do that. We say, this is the dentistry that you need. This is what, you know, we're going to present to you. So that's that mentality over there. Another office may be different, but if it is more of an aggressive mentality, that's how you have to mirror image yourself. But that's a training process that takes a while. So just try to get them into that, and the more that they communicate with the patient, even if it's just a little bit of a sprinkle, the more that patient's going to trust that doctor and say, you know what, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad doing that, you know, procedure with that doctor. All right. So you got to get out of your comfort zone, and that, you know, that's uncomfortable right there in that particular instance. Is that, wait, Mary has seen Dr. X for 15, 20 years, and she wants to see no one else. Well, I had patients as early as like 12 years ago that I had to do cleanings on. I was like, I can't stand doing cleanings. It's the worst. I'm terrible at it. Terrible at doing cleanings. And I don't want to do them. And I found a way to kind of just transition them into, you have to see the hygienist. It's the same thing with the dentist. It may take a little while, but I got out of my comfort zone and said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. And whether the patient's going to leave me or not, patients won't leave you. If they really, really love you, they won't leave you. And every now and then, maybe say to the patient, hey, every other appointment I'm going to see you. Or you're going to see me 3 times and then 1 time. Whatever it is, whatever's going to work for you. You make that happen. Don, what's up?
You gotta recognize the patient that's trying to control you too.
Yeah, that's...
Under the radar, they create problems just like a bad staff member.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. It's a certain percentage of patients that are your problems, and I'm going to have a slide on that pretty soon. So we got about 9 minutes here. I'll go through this a little quicker here. Team communication dues. Like I said, open team meetings, welcome feedback. That's important. Don't encourage gossip or whisper. Anytime from here on out that you see or hear somebody whispering, it's not a good thing. It's either they're in a setting that they shouldn't be whispering, or they're saying something that they shouldn't be saying. I've yet to falsify that statement right there. Same thing with gossip. Gossip is the worst. That will destroy your practice. So find the gossip, expose them. Just bring them in the back and just say, listen, I get it. You want to talk about, just do that after work. You know, you want to gossip, do it after work. Don't do it here. We want to have a healthy practice, because that will destroy you. I don't know why that's on there again, but you as an owner, as a friend, as a team member, as a family member, don't talk to them and just walk away. Engage them, allow them to give you feedback. If they're done, if they don't want to say anything to you, okay, then it's fine to walk away, but engage them and say, you know, what needs to be discussed and handle it. When you just say something and just say, you know, go do this and walk away, it's not a very good attitude, and then the emotions are there as well now. You want to display confidence as well. You guys are either business owners or professionals, or you run offices, so display confidence and be serious. There's a time to joke around, but there's also a time to be serious, and that's most of the time. Don't roll your eyes. That's my kids try this with me all the time, and I just kind of cut it right out, because they have to understand later on in life that this is really just a body language that shouldn't be around anywhere. And use the appropriate tone of voice. So many times we want to scream, we want to pull our hair out in the dental office. I get it. It's frustrating, it's stressful. One of the more stressful, every single year that statistic comes out. Cops and air traffic controllers, but we're number 1. We always seem to be number 1 or 2 with now air traffic controllers there, which is really scary. That's really scary. But we always seem to be up there. So try to minimize your stress a little bit and don't scream or talk down to employees, even family members and friends for that matter. Another thing to kind of tie up the communication, this doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be the dentist. It could be the office manager. It could be an assistant. Brand new patient, hey, it was great meeting you. Do you have any questions about the office? You know, anything, whatever you want to talk to them. If they get that phone call, I guarantee if they're talking to friends about you guys, how great of an office. And even if they had like an average visit, now all of a sudden they had a better than average visit because somebody called them back. Post-op, surgical extraction, maybe a difficult root canal, maybe a root canal, an implant, maybe even a crown that you think that they may be sensitive. How are you feeling today? You doing all right? Everything's all right? The anesthesia wore off? Anybody do surgery here? Yeah? Implants? Like lowers, like by the mental frame, and you want to call them up and you're like, you got your feeling back? Yeah? Lip? Yes? Good. All right. But no, call them back and say, you know, how you doing? Again, my doctor called me. That doesn't happen. That used to happen all the time 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. That used to happen all the time. The doctor used to follow up. They even made house calls back then. I'm not doing house calls. But definitely that makes a world of a difference. What's the worst that they could say to you? I'm swelling. Great. Come in the office because we got to figure out what's going on. Because if they were swelling and then they went through the night, that could be a really bad thing. What's the worst they could say to you? Wow, doc, I'm really in a lot of pain. Okay, I'll write you another script. I'll have it for the office for you, at the office, whatever. But usually it's, even if they're in pain, they're not telling you. They're like, doc, I'm fine. Thank you so much for the phone call. Appreciate it. Again, you have any questions for me? They usually have no questions whatsoever. Sometimes they're like, yeah, doc, I've been chewing on the gauze for 17 hours. Is it all right to take it out now? I'm like, yeah, it's all right to take it out. Sorry, we didn't go over the post-op instructions that clearly. But that's important. So return your calls. Return your calls is big. If you have a phone call that is in the middle of the day, I get this a lot, where I say, just take down a number, we'll call them back. I got 5 minutes free. What was the phone call? Oh, it was they wanted to know if they can take Tylenol or ibuprofen. All right, fine. I look at there. I said, you guys call them back. Say it's fine to take either one. No problem. Whatever. But they again, that's important for them. They don't know what to do. They're confused. But if you don't return that call, they're going to talk, or even worse, post something about you. Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt.
No problem.
I was just blown away. I had a tooth extracted about a year ago. The doctor called me at 8:30 at night to see how I was doing. I was just blown away. It's just the patient experience. Just wanted to chime in on that.
So that, again, just from a patient himself, that makes a world of a difference. It might have been an uncomfortable procedure. It might have been, it's an extraction. Nobody wants to get that done. He wasn't like, oh, I can't wait. I'm stoked. I'm going to the oral surgeon or the dentist to get my tooth taken out today. No, he was probably nervous. He was uncomfortable. He got into the office, the setting, whatever. But he got home. Even if he was in pain, I'm sure that pain went away a little bit because he got a call from the doctor. I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. So thanks for that, Brad. Appreciate it. But returning your calls is a really big thing. So it doesn't have to be you. Again, it could be your office manager, assistant, hygienist, whatever. But just return those calls and make sure those patients are followed up with appropriately. Finalization, silent communication. Clean office. The appearance. Hopefully your appearance is well in the office. This right here is our most important silent communication, our most powerful weapon. It's what we make. We make smiles, so let's smile with our patients and engage them. Don't just talk to them and walk away. Just engage them. They feel that. They really do. Body language is super important. That percentage that I was talking about, I think, Dom, you pointed that out, and I said I had a stat. This is a stat that I kind of built. But I think 5% of our patients are 95% of our problems. And I try my best to get rid of those 5%. And guess what? They come back. I don't know how, but they come back. So you're going to have those patients that are difficult that Dom was talking about. What were you saying about them? They try to...
They'll be like your nightmare employee that you had that you thought was great in the beginning, and then stops all kinds of communication and money flow and everything, and you finally get rid of that person. You'll see in that month, you'll go up 25% from what you did the last 3 months in a row after removing that person and not even replacing them.
Yeah.
So imagine having 10 of those patients a month in your office, just like that person.
And I know that that's hard for some people to believe, but the feeling that the doctor and the employees get when that patient's removed, it's like a truck lifted off your shoulder. It's the best thing in the entire world.
If you look at your schedule like this and you see this is, and you go,
Yep.
that one shouldn't be in your office.
Yeah, and I agree. We flush those patients, right, Dom? Dom and I learned how to flush patients, and again, the more will come back. But you got to be able to try to understand, that percentage. It may exist.
Part of the problem with flushing though is if you've got friends in your general area, they go there, and you guys got to talk to each other.
Yeah. And you also got to be cautious, because I'll have another slide later on, because these people, those are the ones on Yelp. Does anybody know Yelp?
Yes.
Yelp is the worst. The worst. I mean, there are some angry people on Yelp. I think that I am one of the nicest guys in the land, and people hate me on Yelp. They are like, I'm the worst guy in the entire world. Go ahead and Google me on Yelp, please. It's awful. And it's just about the office, and for whatever reason, they're just angry. You know what it usually boils down to? Is a bill.
Yeah.
Money. That's exactly right. I owe $15? I'm not paying. And I'm going to write a review on you. So, and I've had people threaten me and legally and say, "Oh, I'm going to sue you," and then I give them my card. Say, "Here, I'm going to give you my card so that you know how to spell my name the right way when I get the return call from the lawyer. So go ahead and sue me." People are tough, but
Do you
that's
respond to those Yelp reviews? Can you?
yes, yes.
But do you want to get into like a back and forth?
A battle? No. It basically how you handle those. Again, you can look at how I've handled mine on the internet, and basically how you handle them is, we're sorry that you had an experience that you thought wasn't that great. As you can see on the rest of our reviews on the internet, we are an office that takes pride in the care that we provide. We are there for our patients 24/7, blah, 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 blah. We're this, and you had a bad experience, so whatever.
One of the best responses on Yelp in those kind of pages you can give. Some people use an anonymous or a different name, and all you have to do is respond and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have anybody of that name in their records, so I think you're talking about the wrong doctor." And that's the simplest, fastest, easiest, shortest way to answer.
Could be, but my patient, one of my patients, well, it wasn't a patient, it was a patient of my associate, and they got very, very specific.
Well, that's good.
So it's tough. I guess it's unique for every very entity. What I want to point out is that Yelp is a very, very abusive site. They shouldn't even allow it on there. But there's many legal actions going on against them. But I don't know. They're very lawyered up. They have a lot
Do
of
you
legal.
advertise on Yelp?
No, because I won't give them $1 of my money. I'd rather go broke. I don't believe in what they stand for. In that, what they do is I'll be with you in 2 seconds. What they do is, if you don't advertise with Yelp, or if you don't support them, they'll filter the good reviews, and they'll surface to the top the really bad reviews. And that, to me, is not fair for the medical profession. That really is not. That's not something that's very nice. It's not something that should be done. Yes.
I was gonna ask you, I had like 5, 6 really bad reviews over 10 years. Now all these people come in and say, like, these great reviews, they submit them, they're on there for like 1 day, and they just disappear.
Yes, they're filtered. So scroll all the way down to the bottom, and in a very, very, very light gray, where it almost blends in with the background of the site, you'll see filtered reviews, and you click on that, and then you see all the good ones.
And there's nothing to do.
Nothing. So I'll tell you how to combat that a little later in the lecture.
So is it worth it to have a Yelp for your business?
To me, it's not. It was one of my failures. It was one of my failures until they figure it out. Him and I do not have a Yelp page. We don't. It may exist eventually because somebody may, go on there and say that this business, but no, one of my locations that has it, it's not a great thing. Every other site out there, Health Grades, Google, whatever, yeah, they all have vitals. They all have great reviews on me, but miraculously, Yelp has a couple really bad ones. That's bad because people do search the internet. When they see that, they automatically think that you're terrible. And thankfully, we're not the top. Restaurants get absolutely destroyed with Yelp for some reason. But again, we can combat that. So I have a quick video to show you guys, and then we'll take like a 5 or 10 minute break. We have to kind of be quick because we don't have much time left. So I want to just show you this video. But just like you said, how to take care of Yelp. Here's how you do it right here. Social media, again, it's huge, and this was thanks to Mike in the back right here. He got me this whole entire setup right here. This is just a family of patients that I have, and I know the parents pretty well. But whether I know them well or not, I'm trying to take this picture. All 3 of them came in for their recare visit. I think I gave them each the option of either getting a $5 gift card to Baskin Robbins or a $5 gift card to the dollar store or something like that. Not that I bribe my patients, but for probably $500 or $600 recare visit total. $15 wasn't a bad investment for me. I don't do that with all the patients, however, I did here. I posted this all over wherever I possibly could. And that's where you combat Yelp. Every single patient that's happy in your office, get them to write a review. Yelp has an algorithm that they use. It's bullshit. Sorry for my crassness, but it's bullcrap. Their algorithm basically filters the good reviews down and the bad reviews up. So you got to keep on just attacking them, and it gets frustrating. You got to just keep on telling people to put on Yelp. If there's a certain amount of Yelp reviews within 5 days, a week, they're going to filter every single one of them. So you got to sprinkle them in there. Maybe tell your staff it's mandatory to get 1 Yelp review every single week. That's 50 after the year, right? So Google is huge. People search Google more so via doctors than they do Yelp. So if you're going to get one or the other, try to get the Google. The only problem is I think that you may need some type of Google account or Gmail account in order to put a review on there, which is a great thing for us. Google will filter reviews that are slanderous. Yelp will not. So the ones that are really bad, they're going to take them off, and that protects us a lot. So try to get as many as you possibly can, because when you have 150, 200 reviews on Healthgrades, Vital Signs, Yelp, Google, that is going to combat the Yelp war right there. Go.
How do you ask for a review?
We just ask.
Do you have them fill it out in the chair?
Nope, we just ask. We do have a little flyer that says, you know, what would be your rating and what would be this and that, and it's just a little thing that we can either take a picture of and post or whatever, but we usually just ask them, and we hope that they do. I've tried 5starreview.com, and I've used those. It doesn't work because you're not getting up there noticed, and they're relatively inexpensive at, I don't know, $100 a month or $25, whatever it is. It's relatively inexpensive, but they're not getting those reviews up there high enough where people are searching you. The Yelp and the Google, they get up there. So post Facebook pictures, and if you don't know how to do it, get somebody to do it for you. Post Instagram pictures, post YouTube videos of your office, whatever you can do, get it out there. Yes, you have a question?
No, I raffle off TV every quarter.
Greatest idea in the land is to give something away. Be careful. I do it, and I still do it, but be careful because your state laws, if you get like a dentist that's really not so nice to you, they may say, oh, by the way, such and such is giving away a $500 prize, and that's not legal in the state board. Listen, if they want to try to lock me up in the dental world for raffling off a $500 TV, go ahead. But that's the best idea that you can. Just say, listen, every time you refer someone, drop your name in the box. And, you know, we're going to pick one, and we're going to get it. The drawing's going to be Tuesday night at 5 p.m. if you want to show up, so you know we're legit. We take the TV or an iPad or whatever you want to raffle off. Digital camera, whatever. Doesn't matter. But that's a great idea, and you could be creative with it. You know, bleaching may be a little excessive to give them like a take-home kit of bleaching, but something, you know, you don't want to bribe them because that's genius. Like if you say, hey, we'll give you a $5 gift card, they're almost like, wait, you know, they're getting something for, you know, it's almost like a bribe. So you don't want to go down that route, but that route is really a viable option, I think. Any other questions? Okay. So get yourself noticed on social media and on the internet quickly and as much as possible. That will combat that. Again, you know, this is just, it's not a tactic that we do. This is just who we are. We're a team, and we like to support causes, not because we want to pat on the back, just because we like to get noticed, and we want people to know that we're supporting the cause, whatever it may be. We'll skip over this setting office tone because we spoke about that, but just in general, the office tone should be elevated always. It should be a high tone. It should be a happy tone. It should be comfortable. It shouldn't be negative. It shouldn't be, you know, when they go in there, they feel like they're going into work. They should feel like they're going in there to have fun. this is big. I always try to look at myself and try to see how my employees perceive me. I want them to kind of see me as either a colleague or a friend or, you know, somebody that they can talk to. That's almost to me like a family member, because I pride myself in putting out on the internet that every single patient is a family member to me, every one, except for that 5%, obviously. Every single patient is a family member to me, and I want my office to know that as well, my team to know that they can rely on me, they can trust me, and they can know that and understand that I'm a family member to them, or a friend at least. I think this is huge. Again, another little pearl that I want you to take away with you is taking 100% responsibility. Everything in the office comes directly back to me. It's 100% my fault. And then if I train, which I have, my employees to have that same mentality, everything is their fault. They're going to take responsibility for it as well. Lab case, we gave a crown, individual crown. We gave the lab 3 weeks. Usually we give them 2 weeks. We gave them 3 weeks. Patient walks in the door. They're here for their crown appointment. The crown is not back from the lab. Whose fault is it? It's my fault. I didn't train the staff properly to tell them to follow up with it. The assistant says, "Doc, I'm sorry, that's my fault." Well, why is it your fault? Because I should have known that that patient was coming in. I should have looked a day in advance, knowing that that patient was going to come in, and I should have checked the lab slips. My fault. Office manager, whose fault is it? She says, it's my fault. Why? Because I should have looked at the schedule the next. Everybody's responsible. And when they start thinking on that level, it becomes a lot easier, because they're going to start seeing where the finger pointing was getting done. There's no more finger pointing. Everybody's going to assume responsibility. The office runs a lot more efficiently. I want to tell you guys to, you guys run your office, so you have to understand that there is the time to be a friend, but there's also the time to be the boss. When you give that office policy to the employees, they're probably not going to be happy. They're probably going to think like, oh my God, everything's changing. He takes one stupid CE course from Dr. Marr, and then all of a sudden everything's changed. No, just allow them to understand that this is for the better of the practice. Do you have a question?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Because you brought up the situation, for example, that there's no crown. The patient is there and there is no crown. Everybody feels responsible for it. What do you do in this situation? What are the consequences when somebody didn't do their job?
So good question. The first thing is that I will go out personally to the waiting room, and I will tell the employee, whoever's up there, office manager, with the patient, saying, I apologize that you had to come in here, and I know that your time is valuable. And I know it doesn't mean that much to you, but I'm giving you $50 off the co-payment of your crown, because you had to drive back and forth, and they love it. And I know it's a lot probably to some people, but that $50 goes a long, long way. So I'll say, you get $50 off your crown, and I apologize, but we have to reschedule. There was an error and confusion. Getting back to your question, what I'll usually do is I'll allow them to see that they made a mistake, and I'll keep quiet. And when they understand that they took responsibility, it happens less and less, and there's no mistakes. Because they're assuming responsibility, they know they're going to make the mistake once and only once. If it's repetitive behavior, they're not an employee of mine. Okay, repetitive. It happens once, it's going to happen. We're going to have mistakes in the office. It's always going to happen. But we want to minimize those mistakes. When you take responsibility, as well as everybody else, and you see that they take responsibility, you're going to see that your office becomes more efficient. Putting your finger back on the pulse, if you don't know every single position, and this is super, super important, if you don't know every single position in that dental office, you're cooked. Main position, office manager. If you do not have your finger on the pulse, you can run into some big financial problems. I'm not just talking about missing co-payments with, they forgot to bill out a co-payment. I'll go on to it in a minute or two, right here. Maybe you understand what this number is? Theft in the dental office, embezzlement. So every dentist I know will say it'll never happen to me. It'll never, ever, ever happen to me, not me. But guess what? It happened to me. I'll take it one step further. It was my twin brother. That's an eye-opener right there. So it can and it will happen if you don't have your finger on the pulse. You put enough trust into your staff, and you should. I'm sorry, not the infection. To your team, and you should. But always have your finger on that pulse. All right? Because this does happen on a regular basis. I know other colleagues that it's happened to, and I feel terrible that it happens, but there are ways that you can combat this. The first thing that you need to do is understand each position in that office, understand how to have a day sheet, understand how to balance it out, understand the business aspect of your business, okay? By the way, me and my brother are still brothers. We're still friends. He just doesn't work for me anymore, that's all. But, understanding your P&L. I'm going over stuff very quickly in a 2-hour seminar, but we do have something to get this whole entire cumbersome thing down pat. Be it you want to open up another office, be it you want to fine-tune your office, be it you want to have an associate come in or a couple associates running your practice and you're laying on the beach like we all want to do. Whatever it is that you want to do, we have the answer. And I'm going over some brief stuff to just try to give you some tidbits, but the answer is at the end. And again, I'll plug Henry Schein a little bit at the end, and I'll go over how you can do it. It's a little bit more in detail on how to get to that final goal that you need to get at from a business standpoint. So treat your business like a corporation. Again, have a business plan in place. It's a business. I know every patient thinks that we're just medical care providers and that we just take care of teeth and smiles and health, but we also run a corporation and treat it like a corporation. Even if it's a sole proprietorship, still treat it like a corporation. PC, LLC, whatever it is. Obviously, we want to increase our profit, lower our expenses in the right areas. Again, now, dental supplies is not going to be the right answer. Talk to your malpractice carrier. Say, maybe you can get a different policy, same amount, same everything, but maybe they can lower it somehow. Talk to your other insurance carriers for your liability and everything else, and see if you can lower the expenses in that area. Maybe talk to your lab and say, if I send you X amount, can you give me a little tiny bit of a break because I'm giving you a lot of work? I don't know, but just go in the right areas where you can lower expenses. And remember to have your analysis. I'll go back to that. It's super important. For $200 small dollars, it will reap you benefits. Yes?
What is
The analysis, you're going to have to talk to your Henry Schein. You have a Henry Schein rep? You're going to have to talk to the Henry Schein rep. Basically what it does is you give them all of the information in your computer software program, your dental software program, i.e. Dentrix or whatever, Easy Dental, whatever you're using. They're going to ask for some information on a year or 2-year basis, whatever it is. I'm not the expert, but they ask me for the information. You can either email it over to them or fax it or whatever it is that they ask you for. They put it into a program. It spits out some information. They sit down with you and they say, this is what you have to do. And to me, it was that easy. Again.
It comes in a folder.
Yes.
And each
Yes.
folder tells you exactly, and they'll actually compare a 15-mile radius of all the dentists and saying, your prices for these particular codes are this much lower, and they need to be at this percentage. And just so that you know exactly, and then they'll actually do your hygiene and say, you can improve your hygiene
Yeah.
by adding this many more cleanings and increase your profit margin by this many thousands of dollars. And so
It's just external thinking that like maybe we're not aware of. I wasn't aware of it, and again, I know it all now. But I'm getting another analysis done on each of the businesses because now I'm like, what else can I fine tune? ABC, always be critiquing your practice, and I think that is worth a ton. We all know there's changing times. There's corporate dentistry that is gonna come. If you don't see it already, it's coming. Corporate dentistry is gonna be here before you know it. They're going to be building these big, huge buildings with all-in-one facilities. We got to combat this. Evening dentistry, not a huge fan of doing it because I get tired at 6 o'clock and I want to spend time with my family. So I try to get home earlier. But there's competition with evening dentistry, so we have to combat that. So Sunday dentistry exists too. We all know that it exists out there, and to me, I mean, whatever your religious preference is, that's my day with the Lord, my church, etc., my family. I'm not working on Sunday unless it's a true emergency. What's next? Have it your way dentistry, right? Whatever you want, you know, you just name the time, you just come in, walk in, etc. We have to combat this, and again, what this lecture is about is trying to combat this. These are just, you know, innovators in their own industry. Everybody knows this is Richard Branson and Steve Jobs, and these are the two of my favorite people, or two of my favorite innovators in the world. I mean, these guys are just brilliant to me. It was a very sad day emotionally for me. I know that sounds crazy, but it was emotional for me when he passed away, because he truly was an innovator. And that's what we have to be in our dental practices. We have to be innovators. We have to constantly reinvent that wheel and understand that things are changing in dentistry. You have to keep up or stay ahead of that curve so we can combat that. Yes?
I'm just, in the short time we have, like, can we get to how you got from where you are now to where you expanded and moved on to these different, how did you say, okay, I'm gonna open another practice, and where did you go from where you are, and how did you say, this is how I went about doing it?
How did you know it was the right time?
Timing.
Yeah.
All of that.
So I read an article, and it helped me out a lot. It said, do exactly what everybody's doing, do the exact opposite. And so when the real estate market came to a crashing halt and it plummeted, I bought a professional building. And when I tell you, I don't even know how they loaned me the money to not only buy the professional building, but to do the entire build out and to move my practice. It was like a $750,000 expense. I don't know how I got it done, but I managed to do it. But that was because I read that article. Everybody was either selling their property, going bankrupt, etc. So I'm like, I guess it's the time to buy a building. So I did, and I moved my practice. But it's money and this right here. You got to have the heart and the gut. You got to have the stomach in order to do it. You know, when you bought your first practice, you were like, this is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy for me to balance my family life with my practice, and I'm going to have to put 24/7 time into this practice, and, you know, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But you made it work. And is there a cookie cutter equation that tells you exactly how to do it? No. However, there's a mindset that tells you how to do it. And you have to be somewhat methodical, and I'll give you a little sprinkle of what I'm getting at is that all of the mistakes that the professionals that I work with at Henry Schein have made, they've already made them so that you don't have to make them. And there's something called DBI with Henry Schein. You guys can look into that on your own. I'm not trying to push it to you, but that is a step that will solidify every question that you have.
What is it called?
DBI, Dental Business Institute. It will solidify every question on when do I buy a practice, what area should I buy it in, what rent should I pay, what should I pay, like everything. It'll give you a layout for business plans, etc. Like everything is in there, and they're professionals like myself saying, listen, we've already made these mistakes, so don't do that. Don't do this, go down that path. And you're kind of guided in a way that you can understand, now I feel more comfortable, because the last thing you want, like I went into it a little blind on some of my practices. I'm just like, I'm doing okay here, so I'm just going to open up another practice here.
And how are you spreading yourself? Or that's what my biggest fear is, how do you spread yourself, or you're not spreading yourself so thin that now you're actually losing money by having. True,
so they're to me, again, Henry Schein wants me to give statistics. And I'm not a huge fan of statistics. I'm a huge fan of what has worked, because that's my statistic right there. I've already tried it. As far as not to spread yourself too thin or what to do, I have, just trying to think how I can explain it. I have a comfort level, and I have an education level where I can educate my employees how to run the next business. And I bounce back. Once that one's kind of running on its own, like my one main location, I have to be there but once a week. And it runs. Everybody knows their job. So when I get that comfort level, then you can move to the next one. That may not work for everybody. It all depends on what that person, that professional wants to do with their future. The bottom line is you've got to think with the end in mind. where do you want to get to? Because every dentist is like, I want to make $5,000 a week. Now I want to make $7,000 a week. Now I want to make 10. Well, really, where do you want to be? Tell me where you want to be, and then we got to get you to that point. That's really the end game, if you will. But there's a lot more involved in that conversation. If you want to call me personally, I can go over it more in detail with you. It's a little challenging just to kind of go over it because now we only have about a minute. So this helped me out a lot. I read a book and it said find an agreement partner. Basically once a week I call that agreement partner and I say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times next week. I'm going to read a little bit more of a book, and I'm going to see if I can, see 20 patients this week instead of 19, whatever. And how'd you do? Well, I met this agreement, I met that agreement, I didn't meet that agreement. And then you set new goals for the following week. You can do it once a month or once a week. I think once a week is great. Sorry that I'm speeding this up, but I'm going to have to because I know that you guys probably have other courses that you can go to. Nobody said it'll be easy. It's not going to be easy, but take the first step. At least at a minimum, get that practice analysis so you guys can get your practice on a better level. We already went over all this stuff, but create a culture in your practice. Everything that I've gone over is in essence building a culture. I won't go over the interview process. If anybody wants to know my hiring and firing strategy, but I went over this earlier, so we already know. These are like the Richard Bransons and the Steve Jobs. They have character. They're thinkers, friendlies. Well, if you saw Steve Jobs' movie, I don't know if you want to say that he was that friendly, but they're hard workers. They're team players. They're responsible. That's how you instill culture. You got to instill this in all of your team members. Team retention, patient retention, on-time payments, on-time appointments, positive testimonials. I'll just point that one out because that will really hit home for what we need to do to combat that Yelp. Agreed. Again, let's go back to our agreements, our handshakes. Keep your agreements with your labs, with anybody that you owe bills to. Your rent should be on time. Your mortgage payments should be on time. Your lab fees, your bill to Henry Schein should be on time, and everything. Just keep your agreements with everybody. Because if you do, then they're going to see that you operate in a manner that they want to reciprocate and maybe either send you more business or help you out in business. Involve your team. We already know that there's that open door policy. Broken agreements will surface, and you said how do you combat that whole thing against people doing the wrong thing? They'll surface and they'll work themselves out eventually, as long as they take responsibility. Let me just continue to, I'm not going to go over that. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So you got to change it. Change it up right now, okay? I'm just going to go over, we're overwhelmed. We're the dentist, we're the accountant, we're the leader, we're the significant other, the parent, the psychologist, the community role model. Anything else you want to throw in there? Yeah, we wear many hats. How can we do all this and then increase our business? Again, look into DBI. I said, what better venue than a bunch of highly trained professionals that have already made the mistakes and are successful entrepreneurs like myself. So look into it. Suggested readings that I would say, I wrote a book. It's based on ethics in dentistry. I hope that everybody's practicing on an ethical base, doing the right thing for their patients. And this, to me, was a priceless book. I made the most amount of money that I ever did the year that I read that book. And I'm looking to read it again because this was a powerful book. Great guy, Jack Canfield. Last thing, another video that I want to go over, and then it's it. So I'll end on, just stop her whining and bitching. I mean, that guy right there, he's got a lot to complain about, but he made something of himself. He smiles all the time. So if you follow this statement right here, the minute you complain, you've lost. And then also follow the people that you hear complaining. I guarantee that that statement's true also. The minute you complain, you've lost. So try your best. I know it's not easy to do. It's nearly impossible. Try your best not to complain. A friend of mine said once, he said, get in a circle or a room full of people and throw your problems in front of you. Everybody has problems, we know that. You'll go running back for your own problems. So we'll end on that. You guys want to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back, we'll finish up real quickly. We have another 25 minutes to go, okay?